Alright, click the links to join the channel here over at SubScribestar. If you're an SJW, please turn off the video, and if you accidentally subscribe, just go ahead and unsubscribe. So the Acolyte, it's like Star Wars, but it's woke, diverse cancer. This is Leslie Headland. Perhaps you remember her from Weinstein. So Star Wars, in case you're somehow unaware, started in '77 with 3 pretty solid movies made for kids, but adults could enjoy them. Mike Miller had some kind of issue with Star Wars. It's like, dude, eat a dick. Star Wars was awesome. The thing is, Star Wars wouldn't be made today because they were good, and the characters in the story look like they belong together, and movies today are diverse globalist propaganda, where they have a checklist for the amount of time women talk. I think less would be better, and non-Euro characters in movies, and just none of it makes sense. And Larry Fink puts them all together to push his globalist fantasy of bullshit erasure of the fair, beautiful people of the light, us. Can I say everything is fake and gay? I'm not sure if I can say that on YouTube. Everything is a psych op where it's all propaganda. Anything other than micro-budget films are going to be just brainwashing. Films on the level of Kevin Smith's original Clerks back in the day. What a better time that was. So the problem for movies, right? Yeah, for movies, for Hollywood, for America in general. The problem for them is that they're not taking the audience. And what was it, Mallrats? He's thinking about doing a sequel to Mallrats because I guess malls are a thing of the past. No. Now you get your stuff delivered by Amazon drone. That's a concept of detrimental reliance where they capture a market and destroy the competitors, and then they have you. It's like, we really should have had competitors. You think our politicians would do something about that, but when they're not busy working on free speech, they're not working on that either. What are they working on? More money for Ukraine and Israel. Fabulous. The problem for them is that they're not taking the audience along with them on this little Star Wars journey, which is awesome because the longer it goes on, the more people will learn to see the lizard people, and they can apologize for calling us crazy this whole time. So the journey started in '77, and the original 3 films and toys did something like $20 billion, where the way it works is the movies did, like $7 billion or something, and then the toys did twice that, and that's the original. And then when the Disney came out recently with their stuff, the movies did a few $1 billion, like $4 billion, but the toy sales were like almost nothing because the movies fundamentally didn't connect with an audience on any level. So the Star Wars went from '77 to '83, then it took a decade off, kind of, and then it came back in the early '90s for some reason. I guess they had a new toy line come out. So in 2012, Disney bought the rights to some of the Star Wars universe, and people who loved Disney Pirates of the Caribbean, which I think was out in 2003 or 2006, somewhere around there, they assumed that Star Wars was going to do a great job because the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean were out in that time, and they did such a fantastic job with. I mean, that should have been a resurgence of Disney off that Johnny Depp kind of fun adventure vibe, and wow, did they F that in the A. So what they did was, I think this is Carrie Ann Moss from The Matrix fame. They put it, and she actually did a zombie movie, a low-budget zombie movie after The Matrix. They put a chick in it, and they filled it with diversity, and they made something that the audience didn't recognize. They released the Disney version in 2015, and it was horrible. It was Disney mask-off globalist nonsense, and people who were expecting something on the vibe of Pirates of the Caribbean, they get into the Force Awakens was the 2015 version, and they're looking at this and like, whoa, this just looks like a diversity checklist. The issue was people hate diversity. It always feels so fake and forced. Where people who live in gated communities have this vision of the world for us, the cattle debt slaves. So what your thing is, insert strawman istophobicism here. The thing is, whatever, we don't care about all that Frankfurt School stuff. That's just a way to manipulate the sheep. Girl power and diversity are not selling points. If more people were just honest like me, maybe a bit more eloquent, you'd normalize moving the window to the right of just saying, woke, diversity, cancer. But, you can't say that publicly, otherwise they'll try to cancel you for it. So it's like, the people who are in an uncancelable position are going to have to be the ones to to carry this flame. So they cause the audience to avoid whatever you're selling. If you see a chick in the lead or a non-Euro character, we know it's going to be woke because everything in the past 20 years is woke. It's just, that's the way it is. If you think it's just right of center based Chad Hugo Boss, like me, saying this type of stuff, well, it's the left doesn't watch it either. And they think, like, somehow they think, oh, well, the right wing didn't watch all these, the Charlie's Angels, the last woke Terminator, the Madam Web, the Marvels, all these kind of movies that have come out recently in the past 10 years that have bombed. Even the last X-Men we should call it X-Women. So you think the right wing are the ones who control whether a movie succeeds or fails. There's enough left-wing people to make any movie successful. Barbie proved it. There's enough chicks out there who saw Barbie and that was not a very good movie to make it $1.5 billion. So when the left wing goes, oh, the right wing istophobic, like the Mary Sue will complain about this, my favorite, Rachel Leishman, will complain about the right wing just doesn't want the diversity in these, Shang-Chi movies or Black Widow or Black Adams or whatever they whine about. You go, so the simple question is, well, how come you guys didn't see it? Yeah, I'm just openly admitted, girl power and diversity is not something I want to see ever. That's not a dog whistle. I just said it. No diversity, no girl power. That's not worth any money. That's not worth any time. That's not even worth sailing the high seas for it. Oh, so what you're saying is, it's the 2 points. Girl power and diversity. It's cancer. I mean, it's as clear as crystal, but you look at the left one, you go, you guys claim to love this crap. We're openly saying it's crap. Maybe not everyone's as open as me, fair enough, but why doesn't the left go see these movies? And they don't have an answer to it because they're not seeing the movies. That's why the movies are losing money. Honestly, like, you're going to see you can see Hollywood have a massive change in your lifetime. Like, plays were big at one time, and I don't know the future. I guess is going to be streaming. Anyway, so Disney made their 3 movies, which were not very good, and people just wanted to finish the 9-movie series. And then between 1 and 2 or something, Solo came out, which actually lost money, which would have been unthinkable, and it wasn't a bad movie at all. That Disney would have the rights to Star Wars, and then they'd screw it up. But they'd rather push a toxic left-wing agenda than make movies that at least look like the original films. And when I say this on Twitter, these soy people I talk to, usually women, they lose their minds because they go, wait, but it was like mostly white people, or people who, look European at least, and they go, it's not diverse enough. Yeah, that's the point. The people looked like they belonged together. That's organic storytelling. Why do you think Lord of the Rings was so powerful, and Rings of Power, people just didn't watch it? Because it's just propaganda. It's the definition of propaganda. So what you get now is forced diversity checklists, but the problem is it destroys the willing suspension of disbelief, because we know it's all Mary Sue's and affirmative action hires. That's the definition of propaganda. When you have the Bechdel test checklist for chicks and underrepresented characters have to be, that's just Pravda. That's Bolshevism 101, and it destroys storytelling. So anyway, Disney made about 8 of those streaming shows. It started with The Mandalorian, then I think Boba Fett had their own show, and Obi-Wan had a show with some black chick that everyone hated for some reason, and then Andor, Star Wars, which they said was the best Star Wars. It got good reviews, but nobody watched it because people were just, even in the first series, the first 5 minutes of the show, it was like 2 evil British guys are the bad guys, and this guy has to brutally slaughter them in an alleyway. Yeah, you're doing the you're telegraphing your motives right there. That's when nobody watched it, and Acolyte's coming out. Oh, what was the other one? Ahsoka with Rosario Dawson. Nobody saw that either. The thing is, these streaming shows are not finding an audience because it's either too much diversity or purple-haired B-cup girl power. Nobody wants to see women play the roles of men. Women aren't soldiers or leaders, and when you see it in Star Wars, you know you're getting the globalist message. There's a deeper bit here because the goal is anti-natal. and to destabilize nations by pushing a narrative that takes women out of their natural roles of wives and mothers. Disney's not an entertainment company. It's a branch of Larry Fink's Good Think Incorporated. It's the propaganda division. The streaming shows have pushed these titless lesbians as soldiers, and nobody was interested. And also POCs and POCs are not selling right now. I know there's a pun in there. At least not in the Star Wars universe. People are just tired of the whole thing. There's a non-Euro oppression hierarchy. It's from the Frankfurt School, and it's all imaginary. And you can judge the woke usually by skin tone. It's just that easy. And protagonist and antagonist. The Star Wars High Republic comic series is a great example of judging protagonist and antagonist by skin and hair and eye color. Where if I see a blonde-haired character with green eyes, I go, oh, he's going to be the bad guy. And then I see a little pox girl, I know the way this story is going. Disney is, and actually, I saw a movie last night on Odyssey on Crack Galactica's channel, I think, Haven, which is funny because they had a black guy. It was a bad guy, and he did a great job. It was just a little bit of a difference, a little bit of a risk in storytelling. It's like it had all the same. Or no, Ben Tankless channel, I think. It had all the same woke talking points, but it's like they just did something a little bit different. It's like, how refreshing. How refreshing to see characters treated a little more even-handedly. So Disney is so painfully formulaic, I could suggest ways to fix the movies, but ultimately it would be pointless because that's not their goal. This Bolshevism is their religion. They'd rather go bankrupt than stop being anti-white. Their hatred for you is what drives them. So this Acolyte trailer comes out, and it's all blue-haired vagina people running around, and I think some of them are men in dresses with like plural pronouns for singulars or something. That's very confusing. I mean, it's all nonsense. We don't have to take part in your nonsense. But the audience doesn't want to see any of that. A bunch of blue-haired SJW weirdos running around in a mockery of Star Wars. And yes, the obese SJWs listening to this tell me to touch grass and yikes, my guy. But it doesn't matter if I'm literally Hugo Boss committing love crimes because nobody is watching this stuff. The SJW Twitter kids will spurg out, but they're not watching. And they're deep Coomer consumers, but watching a bunch of ugly, breastless, blue-haired girl power running around is a bridge too far. The last movie or streaming show was Rosario Dawson, I think, which people were surprised that it bombed because she's, I don't know, for some reason people like her. I remember her from Clerks 2, and then she was in, God, what was it? That Kevin Smith's last very low budget movie. He's like Jay and Silent Bob Part 2 or reboot or something. She was in it for a little bit. I don't know why people liked her, but they were looking forward to it. There was buzz about Ahsoka that there wasn't about anything else. Mandalorian had a lot of buzz on it, and then the Gina Carano thing, they fire her. It's like then it just kind of dissolved. I don't know if they're gonna keep going with that show. The Baby Yoda was a big selling point because finally they found a toy that they could sell. So the thing is, POCs with a woke agenda and like the blonde, that was in Andor where there was a blonde woman who looked like she was out of Aryan Central Casting from a Dub 2 movie. Just, I mean, so on the nose it's touching the brain. And she's the bad guy, and she's up on a high place, and she's talking down to people. It's like, you guys really hate blonde people, don't you? You really hate that Nordic, I don't know the ethnicities, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, can you make someone else? You can make a Chinese guy the bad guy. Emperor Ming. What was that? And Queen did Queen did the soundtrack for that a TV show or that movie, or they did the opening theme song. It's like, how did you get Queen to do the opening theme song for Flash Gordon? Anyway, the thing is, people aren't watching this kind of stuff. I saw some of it. I see some of these streaming shows, and they're just freaking unwatchable. John Delarose just watched Heather Antos do some interview on Star Trek. I mean, talk about a freak audience. And it's weird because that's one of the Star Trek animation shows I think went 5 years. Freaking bizarre. And he watched Heather Antos for like 26 minutes doing an interview. I'm like, even speeding that up to 1 1/4 speed. How do you watch Heather Antos, who came out as some kind of BLT furry otherkin or something. It's like, you're just saying that. None of this is real. This is all fake. Nobody's actually all these kind of BLT things. It's like you just want to be special, a special pretty princess, and people aren't paying you attention anymore. So now you're, something else. So all these streaming shows are bombing, and I'm assuming this one is going to bomb as well. Even with Carry-On Moss as a Jedi, it just doesn't. Does it look? Go back to the 77, 83 Star Wars, and take notes and make the show visually look exactly like that, where it's 90% fair people and the men are in the leads. And you look back at the original Star Wars, and there really wasn't a lot of, you notice how the lightsabers are in everything now? You back to the original Star Wars, and there really wasn't a lot of lightsaber sword fighting. Because, he wasn't that skilled yet, but it wasn't like the main selling point for the show. The show was the dialogue and the story and the character interaction, which admittedly was lightning in a bottle, and you're never going to get that again. That connection with the actors. But the shows now they focus on the lightsabers, where they have the lightsabers out and they're always lit, where you only turn them on when you need them. It's, none of the, they're just carrying them around lit because they want you to focus on the lightsabers. It's like, oh, people like the lightsabers in the original story, so we'll put them in everything. It's very cheap and shallow. The thing is, nobody wants to see, these 40-year-old women, or Carry-On Moss is in her 50s, in these action roles, because they're grandmothers now. They're supposed to be grandmothers. Like, you can't, the biological imperative, you can't, the willing suspension of disbelief only goes so far, where we can't forget, like, our natural biological roles. Like, you're saying these grandmothers are fighting this war, or even worse would be young women in their fertility window. Why don't you just use men? Men are biologically expendable, because one man can impregnate thousands of women, but women have to carry the kids. Like, we just, it's a galaxy far away, things were different. They're not that different. And whatever you're saying, all these excuses, you're not taking the audience with you. Like, you can attack the audience, you can call everyone a bunch of Hugo Boss. Someone didn't get that reference. It's like, but it doesn't put people in seats, and that's kind of the issue. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Join us over at SubScribeStar for the politically incorrect type of stuff, and I will see you guys. Like, it's more politically incorrect than this. Yes, it is. It's really hard to dial it down for YouTube. Anyway, I'll see you guys all next episode.